with working with good people like we have here, and especially a strong leadership team. We've got three former governors at this table, and that's pretty impressive, I think. In fact, we got 2 or 3 on the board of trustees, right? And that helps a young fellow like me to gain wisdom. There are some challenges for us as the 2022-23 leaders of MOARC, and I just want to mention a few of them. One, we're recovering from a pandemic. We still haven't recovered yet. Some clubs are not meeting yet, or just beginning to meet. Some are still doing hybrid. We started the year with 170 clubs. As of 4:30, the membership report that we got from KI said that 7 have had their charter revoked, 7 were on charter suspension, and of the 163 remaining clubs on April 30th, 41 had fewer than 15 members. 32 others had between 15 and 19 members. That's 73 clubs out of our 163 that have fewer than 20 members. And all of you know that it's difficult to run an organization with only a few people, because if you have 20 members, you don't have 20 working members. You'd be lucky if you had half that or a third of that. Every division that we have has at least one of those 73. Division 7 has 5. Division 10 has 5 of 6 that are under 20. My own Division 16, and we're not immune, certainly. We have 3 of the 7 are under 20, and 1's on charter suspension, and seems to be about every other time because they have trouble paying their bills. 3 of them have not reported their officers for 21-22. And so, those are challenges that we've got, and that's not near as many. But that does not mean that we're a dying organization by any means. We just finished our 2nd membership contest, in which we gave away $15,000. So over 2 years, we've given away something like $35,000 to clubs that would concentrate on growing their membership. St. Joe went from 31 members to 45, 31 to 45.
St. Joe.
Greater Hot Springs went from 30 to 43. Smithville, Missouri went from 33 to 43. So the club where I started in Kiwanis, 58 to 68. Clarksville, Arkansas went from 4 to 12. Now that's not very many still, but that's triple what they had. Maplewood, Missouri went from 13 to 20. Foreman, Arkansas from 8 to 12. Cave City, Arkansas from 9 to 13. 93 clubs out of our 173 had membership gains. So that shows it can be done, and the individual clubs can do it with help. Now, they did it because they wanted to win money, maybe, but I think that was not their only motive. This week we had an ambitious schedule, probably too ambitious, but we decided we wanted to open 2 clubs. And we decided we'd have a board meeting this week. And we also were going to try to boost 2 clubs in this area to start the lieutenant governor training. And then we'd have the regular lieutenant governor training. Well, as Barb mentioned, we were successful at opening 2 clubs, and that's a great day. Anytime you can open 2 clubs, and we did that. We added something like 40 members to the MOARC roster just in really 3.5 days is basically what it is. Although Carla and Tiffany added 2 more today, right? So we're still adding members, and it certainly can be done with a lot of effort. in my training, I learned about boosting at Indianapolis, and they sent us, our lieutenant governors out with some members of a couple of local clubs that needed a boost. And I'd really never heard of the term boost. We used to call it a blitz, but at any rate, there were three of us lieutenant governors who went with one member of this club at an Indianapolis suburb, and none of the three of us had ever done anything like that, nor had the member. And he'd only been in Kiwanis for 2 years, so he didn't really know much about the club either. So we learned kind of by trying, and sometimes that's the only way you can do it. But one of the things that I became convinced of is that it will work to grow membership of your local clubs, but it works best if we can have the people who are close to those clubs doing the boosting. And that's you, lieutenant governors especially. And so that's why I wanted to emphasize membership during our training. And because I believe that every club in our district could use a boost. Even those that have 100 members can use a boost. And Springdale was boosting themselves last time we were up there. So, you never can have too many, because there are some that you lose along the way for one reason or another. So what I'm emphasizing to you is that you're closest to your clubs, and we as district officers can come in and help. We can give you support, but you can help each club in your division to go through a boost, and especially those clubs that really need it. And you can look around on the membership list, and you know who they are. They will listen to you, and they'll work with you more than they'll work with people from Jonesboro, Arkansas, come in and telling you how you're going to do your club. So that's why I really feel like that it's important for all of you to understand how to do an organized membership campaign, and we'll talk some more about that as we get into the training. We put together a strong program with some outstanding Kiwanians who will be working with you tonight and tomorrow. And I encourage you to take advantage of their wisdom, ask questions, and if they don't give you their email address or their phone number, ask them for it. So we're here to help, and we've spent a lot of money to do this week. It's well worthwhile though, because we know what Kiwanis can do for our communities, and so we want to do even more of it. And with that, we're going to start the program with former Governor Jerry Martin from Springdale. He was governor in 2007 and 2008, and I'm very happy to have him with us to present our overview.
I'm very happy to be here, and I do appreciate you inviting me to come and participate in this training. I do have a PowerPoint that I'm going to be using, and I've had problems with this. I've been working on this PowerPoint all week, trying to merge other PowerPoints into one. And today, whenever I tried to copy it onto my thumb drive, it would not transfer. It would not. I could not save it on my laptop either. But I did make a copy of all the slides, and tomorrow I'll go make copies of these so that all the lieutenant governors that are here have a complete set of the slides. I always like to start off telling a little bit about my Kiwanis history. I moved to Springdale, Arkansas in 1975, went into business with a college friend of mine, and he had already established the business, and he was in the Rotary Club in Springdale. And he said, Jerry, there's two big clubs in Springdale. One is Rotary and the other is Kiwanis. I'd heard of Kiwanis, but I really didn't know what it was. So he said, you need to join Kiwanis. So I did. And I went to the meeting, and for several months, back then it was all men. They were nice guys, but I just didn't seem to You know, they all sat with their own groups. I didn't seem to fit in. So I thought very seriously about quitting Kiwanis because I wasn't getting anything out of it. But then we started a new project called the Little Olympics. It's a track meet for elementary age kids. And I held up my head, yeah, I'd volunteer to work on that committee. And after that, I was hooked. Whenever I got involved with 4 or 5 other men in the club, we worked on that project. Then we worked with the kids from the schools. I knew that Kiwanis was for me, and I made a career out of it. I've been in Kiwanis 47 years, and it's been a big part of my life. So I just want you to know that whenever I talk to you about Kiwanis, it comes from my experience that I've had in Springdale, Arkansas. So, Mary, how do we advance this thing?
Well, Jerry, it's really quite simple.
Yeah, I know.
I'm gonna give you my. Thank you, Vance. I gotta get that on my back. All right, I'm gonna give you my mouse for right now. All you have to do is hit that button.
This
It will
right here?
advance. Yep,
Okay.
just like your computer. How about that?
Oh, too good, though. Okay, well, we just wanted to start with a little bit of the history of the,
Jerry, can I interrupt you for just a second? So I notice your folders are empty. We're gonna be putting any forms and documents and anything that you need, or anything that we got some handouts for tomorrow. Anything that doesn't get handed out, or anything actually is gonna go on a Google Doc that everybody has access to, all the lieutenant governors. So don't freak out if you don't have something. We're gonna make sure it's all electronic, I hope.
or you new lieutenant governors also, I'll make you a copy of all these slides and you can put it in that folder. So you'll have something in that folder or whatever you leave. It's several pages long. A brief history of our district. I think most of us know that 1917, the first club was organized in St. Louis. And
Sorry. I was trying to get it to a full screen so that wasn't cutting off the top of
It
your,
would help, yeah.
no, I'm trying.
And then in 1918, the second club in our district was in Kansas City. And then in 1918, the Missouri District of Kiwanis International was formed. We actually became a district in 1918. In 1920, Kansas combined with Missouri to form the Missouri-Kansas District. At that time, it was the Missouri-Kansas District. And I've already lost your little thing there. Oh, she's got it.
I got it. Let me advance your slide for you. There you go.
You just think you're gonna do this, Jerry.
Pardon?
You just think you're gonna do this.
I'm trying to take care of you.
All right. Okay, in 1923, finally Arkansas added to form the Missouri-Kansas Arkansas District. And then in 1950, Kansas went out on their own with their district. So since 1950, it's been the Missouri-Arkansas District. And I added this last one down there in 2008. We went to the regional concept in our organization in our district. That was during the time whenever I was past governor at that time, whenever that was adopted, and I was part of that process. And that was a historic moment for us, we thought, but maybe it's not as historic as we did think. Okay. I hope everybody knows how we're organized. We've got 9 regions. We've got 26 divisions. And there's a map that will show that on the next slide. I think.
Jerry, the map's wrong.
Very good. Now here, if you use this, just take it.
Oh,
hit
the
the
map's
forward.
wrong. No, you don't change it.
Yeah, we made it. We changed already. Just hit that button, forward button, and it'll change slides. for you.
Okay. But I hope all you lieutenant governors know which division you're in.
Maybe until yesterday, they may not know.
All of our divisions have all of our regions have 3 or 4 divisions in them. So that's not current now. Huh?
It's only a little.
Just a little change.
A little change.
These are our district officers. We have a governor who next year will be Roy, the governor-elect, who we will elect at the district convention this coming August. The immediate past governor will be Carla. We have the secretary and treasurer, their officers, they're not elected by the membership, are they? Or
No, they're appointed now.
appointed by the board, yes. So they're appointed, and they're also salary people. The other officers are all volunteers. We have 9 trustees. We have a trustee in each of our regions, and we have 26 lieutenant governors, or we have 26 lieutenant governor positions. Our district board is made up of the governor-elect, the immediate past governor, the secretary treasurer, and our 9 region trustees. Roy, do we have other people? Seems like we had some other people on the board besides these back whenever we formed the regions.
We don't.
We don't, okay, so this is what makes up our board. The idea was, whenever we went to the region concept, to reduce the size of the district board. Where before we had 24, 25 lieutenant governors, and they were on the board, and it was a very large board and hard to do business. Plus, another thought was that reduced the number of visits that the governor had to make. Instead of making 25 visits to the divisions, we'd make 9 visits to the regions.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Who's the district treasurer?
Robin Asher,
Yes. And what club is she from?
East Centennial, I believe. isn't
Yeah,
she?
As of today, she's Branson.
East Centennial and Branson.
Oh, the one is called the Ozarks.
Yes. Is that what it- That's what it's called?
Yeah, that's its new name.
Okay, does everybody understand what our organization is, and who our officers are? And if you notice, under the officers, the lieutenant governors are listed as officers. These lieutenant governors are officers of the district by our bylaws. I know you're going to be hearing more about what your role is as lieutenant governor during the weekend, but you're the direct link between the district and the clubs. Whatever used to, when us past governors would get together, we would say the weakest link that we saw in the organization was the lieutenant governor position, because that's where it seems like our communication broke down. You report directly to the governor, lieutenant governors, you don't report to the trustee as such, you report directly to the governor. And it is, in my opinion, the most important position in our district. One thing we struggle with is the relation between the lieutenant governor and the region trustee. I don't think whenever we formed the regional concept, we really thought too much about what that relationship should be, or really what the responsibilities of the trustee should be. So I think we're probably still struggling with that, are we, to a certain degree, Carla? And yeah.
We try to say that your regional trustee is not your boss,
Right.
but they are absolutely there to help you through any problems you have.
And they're definitely your representative on the district board, because the trustees are board members and the lieutenant governors are not board members. But one thing we did fail to really lay out the duties and responsibilities of trustee, in my opinion. Barb, you and Les may have other thoughts on that, but we seem to have struggled with that ever since we went with the region concept. I was in the Army. I'm a military man. I like a structure where you have a chain of command and you know who's in charge. So it's confusing here when we got trustees. Yeah. Yes, Carl. I like it, enough said.
Even when she's tired.
Well, when we first went to trustees, the thinking was that the trustees were charged with the future of the district. They were forward looking, and they would be making decisions that would put us on firm footing in the future. And so their policy making, and rather, whereas there is a big distinction. The lieutenant governors are the people, boots on the ground that are making
Absolutely,
things
yes.
happen.
Yeah, I think it's worked out that way too.
Yeah, and that was the original, and that's how we tried to do training for the first couple of years, but I
I remember that, yes.
And, but I think it's becoming clearer to people, the relationship between the governor and the lieutenant governor and the trustee. And don't we have a chart where we have the broken lines?
Well, I looked for that, I asked Mary for that. She couldn't find it either. Well, I've seen that chart. I have seen that chart. Yes, we do have it, but I could not locate it. But yeah, it's been a gray area basically. But I see the trustee as a valuable mentor for the lieutenant governors, because those trustees are usually people who have been lieutenant governors for one thing and have had experience in Kiwanis. So other than they could be an asset to you as an advisor and a go-to person whenever you have problems come up within your division. Any more quick discussion about that?
Is there a list of who the trustees are? I don't think I've ever seen.
You'll be getting
Yeah,
that.
I was gonna say, I'm sure that,
There is one on the website.
Yeah.
Okay.
do you have the updated one, Roy, for your year on the website?
Well, we
Well,
don't know who the
yeah,
new
we
ones
don't
are
know who
yet.
some of them are. Yeah, that's true, yeah. But yeah, there is a list of all the officers.
There are
on the website.
9 and there are 3 elected every year. Well, we took away the term limit, so those that are going off this year could be reelected. We just don't know what their
Right.
wishes are yet.
Like Roy said, they're staggered. The terms are staggered, so they don't have all 9 of them going off every year. We have 3.
I really need to insert that everybody needs to understand that honest to God, the lieutenant governors are the most important people.
Absolutely, yes, they are. Yeah. You guys are very important. Whenever I was president and whenever I was lieutenant governor in our division, it was one of the best years of my life. I really got out and worked with the clubs, and met new people and worked with the clubs of my division. When I became governor, I guess I expected all the lieutenant governors to do just what I did whenever I was lieutenant governor. It did not work that way. Roy, you're going to find out that, I had some great lieutenant governors by year, but I had some that really were not, that they didn't really put any effort into it. And I thought it was just the things we had laid out for them to do is very simple. But the lieutenant governor, you are the one that will make this man right here a success or not a success. I didn't feel like I had accomplished much my year as governor. We had a district project that Velma was heading up that we could not get it off the ground. It's just a lot of things that it's just me. But yes, whenever us past governors get together, we'd always say the lieutenant governor was the most important position. That's where we're failing in our communication. Keep that in mind. You are important people. The next thing we want to talk about is district foundations. When I was trying to put this presentation together, I kept asking Les Mace things about the Earl Collins Foundation. And finally I said, Les knows more about the Earl Collins Foundation than probably anybody in the district. He's been a part of it. And Les said, well, I'm going to be there at the training. So I said, Les, why don't you just talk about the Earl Collins Foundation? So Les, if you're up right now, and I asked Les to keep it to 5 to 10 minutes. And
Well, you said 10 minutes, and Roy said 5, but then I asked for 15, so you gave me 20.
Les is very passionate about the Earl Collins Foundation. He knows all the facts and figures. And I've asked him just to kind of give us an overview of it tonight, because you'll be hearing more about it as you go on. But the thing that I want to say, whenever I was governor, I would go out to the divisions and people wouldn't even know what the Earl Collins Foundation was, So we've got to educate our members so that they know whenever we're talking about the Earl Collins Foundation, we're talking about a vital part of our organization. And that's what,
Hang on a second,
okay.
try to get less up.
Okay. Well, I learned, this is Friday, Wednesday, when I got asked to do this. I put some stuff together and let me back up just a little bit. How many of you are going to Indianapolis, the International Convention? How many of you know who you're going to vote for international trustee? Ron Hill. Be sure to get all your members, because we need to get Ron. He's a good one, so we need to get him out. Now I'll get back to Earl Collins. The two most questions that I get asked: who was Earl Collins? What's the Earl Collins Foundation about? And what do you do with the money? So I broke my presentation down a little bit. I've got enough here for the incoming, or for the lieutenant governors. We'll pass those around and I'll kind of walk through what's on it. But when I was asked to tell who Earl Collins was, I happened to have in my file some old Kiwanagram records, and I was able to dig them up. And the lieutenant governor, I think Carl is getting them around, that tells who Earl Collins was. He was district secretary, past governor, district secretary, and if you look, I'll wait till Carla gets them around. By the way, on these flyers, be sure to take plenty, because we've got plenty. Get one, at least one for each of your clubs. And we'll pass them around some more, but we want to get them out. But the first page tells who Earl Collins was, and then gives some ideas, history about how it was named, and then the foundation. And I been on the foundation since and when I was lieutenant governor, 77, 78, that was just a fund. And lieutenant governor was Earl Collins trustee. We had double duty, but in the mid-80s, we changed it around, separated out. But I'll not spend a lot of time on those, but let you kind of go through and you can review what it's all about. And one picture on there shows a picture in Cape Girardeau, and I see the list of members that were at the Memorial Day, the Cape Girardeau Club, and that's where he was and where it started.
You want me to pull your presentation up, or did you want to use that? You're just going to talk.
Can you get the presentation up? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Because I just sent it to her this afternoon, so I wasn't sure if she got it up or not. Give her applause for getting it up. Oh.
There it is. Is that it? Oh, the Kiwanagram part.
Like I say, she just got this afternoon, so she's done a good job getting it this quick, so. While she's looking it up, I'll go ahead and mention, but it tells who he was and what it was all about. The Memorial Fund was established in 1960 at Cape Girardeau Club. And there we go. There we go. That kind of starts you off and you see what it's all about. I'll just let you thumb through the pages on it. One thing I did notice, these are old Kiwanagrams from way back when, that the Montgomery City Kiwanis Club won a prize at the county fair. The theme of their float was "Freedom is up to you." It's on one of the pages on over. And then the Earl Collins Memorial Bookshelf was established. And then some more about Earl Collins, who he was and what it was all about. The next part on.
Where do you want to go? Now you want to go back to Earl Collins?
Yeah,
So you're gonna look at this beautiful Kiwanagram?
here.
Permanent job now.
Yeah,
Just that front page is all you wanted on that front page?
yeah, well, I didn't want to waste a lot of time because I was limited in time. So. Since they've got handouts, they can study them on that. There's another,
Sorry, Dr. Robinson, Dr. Blake.
I'm still with you.
yeah, there we go. Okay, that's basically what this is the second part. I've tried to address who Earl Collins was and why the foundation was named such as it is. And that was the first question that I mentioned, that people want to know who he was. The next question is, well, what do you do with the money? We send it in $5 per member and get a banner patch and all that. What do you do with it? Well, there's a copy of the budget up through April, last April. It gives an overview of our budget, what we have in place. What I want to really get to on that is down at the bottom. We call it expenses. I want to call it services at the bottom, but it talks about where we distribute the money. And if you'll notice, Beatrice Kiwanis Youth Camp, we've given $100,000, so to speak, in that. And then it shows several years of the history of the scholarships that we've given every year, and then direct support of more sponsored youth. You can see that we've got budget items now for that each year that we do. To give you a little background, I put together, working on a little history of the foundation. But when I first became a member of the foundation in July 1976, we had $2,120.10 in our account. Then we were given scholarships $100 per year, and some of them could be renewed. We tried that for a few years, and that, interestingly enough, a lot of confusion, people transferring colleges and back and forth and dropping out. We just decided for 1 year only, but now it's $1,000. But anyway, from that $2,120, now we're at $1,365,000 is what we are at now. Next page over shows the winners of scholarship winners for this year. So you can look through your division and see who the scholarship winners were on that. The next sheet, Mary, if you can get it called up a little bit, it's this.
Well, I couldn't even get there, because all I've got on here is, were you gonna talk about Beatrice Johnson? Then I got the wrong sheet. Well, I'm having a heck.
Well, anyway, you've got a handout that we started, the foundation started grants for sponsored youth, Key Club, Circle K, like that. And you can see, if you look back at the budget, you can see that we spent $5,093 for a grants program. And then on that page, it shows where all the grants went to. Boonville High School, Moore, Key Club, Conway, like that. So that just gives you a quick overview of what we have spent. And the grants are a fun thing. And then in the history, it gives some of the special parts that we've had. So I've tried to cover basically the two questions. Who is Earl Collins? What do you do with our money? If you have any questions, I'll do what I can to answer you. Thank you.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
They mentioned the Zimmerman Society Award or Zimmerman Award. What is that? It just says briefly mentioned.
Okay, good question. Arnold Zimmerman was one of the fathers of turning this into a foundation. He was a CPA and dedicated, and was president for a term and all of that. And unfortunately, I talked to him on Sunday night, and I was to meet with him Wednesday night in St. Louis. But Wednesday morning, he fell out of bed dead. But with that sudden death is when we decided to do the Zimmerman Foundation, with the idea, if you want to honor somebody, an individual, or your club just wants to pledge $1,000 to the Earl Collins Foundation for the Zimmerman Society. So that's the purpose.
Honor someone. with
Someone,
that distinct award.
Yeah, and doesn't have to be a Kiwanian if you want to honor a community member, a community leader, somebody like that.
And it shows somewhat like a Zeller, you get a medallion.
Oh, wow. And then the fancy Les Mace Award.
Yes.
What's that all about?
Yeah,
Indeed.
Well, I was in on the concept of the Les Mace Award. And I thought it was a good idea. I still do. With the idea for $150, if you want to honor somebody in your club, outside your club or community, then you make a donation of $150. And then you can specify where that $100 go to, a key club, or maybe your local action club, or some organization that's serve community service or something like that. So that's the idea of that. Kind of puts it down. Troy Massey's daughter is the one that come up with the idea that their club just wanted to do something to honor some people, but they didn't want to spend the whole $1,000. So that's the concept of that.
And
Yes, Greg.
you can say exactly who you want that money to go to, which of
Exactly.
the.
Exactly.
And you can personalize the award with the wording on it.
You get a,
it's
you get a
a plaque.
plaque. A plaque, yeah. I'll bring a plaque in the morning, just to show you.
Just an anecdote, back in the early 90s, my oldest daughter applied and received the Earl Collins scholarship. And I was very grateful for that. But about 3 years later, my oldest son submitted an application for the Earl Collins. And does anybody remember a longtime Kiwanian by the name of Clarence Offrank?
Oh, yeah.
Or North Platte. I think he had about a 65-year perfect attendance or something. I don't know. But the anecdote part of my story is Clarence attended Smithville meeting one day, and he determined that Rice was my son, who had just submitted an Earl Collins application. And after the meeting, he come and grabbed me and said, "Your boy filled out the god awfulest application I've ever seen." And I said, "Well, doesn't surprise me a bit." Thank you.
Yeah, any other questions? I mean, I just tried to. I might mention one thing. Herb Roberts put this history book together several years ago. And a box with a lot of stuff from Herb had got misplaced, thanks to Deborah. She brought it in today. And so we've got all of Herb Roberts' notes and all of that. And so appreciate it. And because Paul is, I think we're considering updating, because this dates back to 1980 or something like that. It needs to be updated, so.
Did we get rid of all the cookbooks finally?
We finally ran out of cookbooks.
I still have some actually.
I think I've still got something. Thank you, Les. Well, how many of you know that we actually have two foundations in the Missouri Arkansas District? Everybody know that, aware of that? The second one is the Beatrice Johnson Kiwanis Youth Camp Foundation.
Got a blank page there.
Well, what that blank page is,
Oh, is it the video?
no, it's a picture of Beatrice Johnson.
Oh, no,
that-
it came up before the picture did.
For her? No, not there. Well, anyway, let me tell you the way this all came about. In 2008, there was a lady in Clarksville, Arkansas, named Beatrice Johnson, passed away. And in her will, she left 160 acres of land to the Missouri Arkansas Kiwanis District, provided that the land is used for a camp for youth, the youth camp. When David Reed was our secretary at that time, he called me to tell me about it. And I said, well, send me the legal description, because I knew it was going to be what in Johnson County, there are some pretty remote areas. I knew it's going to be way off up north in the mountains somewhere. When I got it out and plotted up that 160 acres on the map, it's right next to a state highway, a paved state highway. It's right across the highway from the Corps of Engineers recreation area, which is the most used recreation area on the Arkansas River, they say. So it was a prime location for a camp. John Hoffman was the governor at that time. He followed me. He appointed a committee to investigate it to see if it's something that we might be interested in accepting the 160 acres. Of course, we did. After looking at it, it looked like a definite possibility. It's 160 acres of valuable land. Basically, just the asset itself is valuable. apparently, Ms. Johnson was not a Kiwanis member. And I'm not sure, some people say her husband was a member, but I can't confirm that. But I do know her attorney was a Kiwanis member. He was the one that done her estate for her, and he advised her to leave 160 acres to Kiwanis. And that's the way this came about. We had to convince the judge there that we were going to use it for a youth camp because she had an heir out in California that challenged said whether or not this was proper for this land to be given to our organization. So that took about 2 or 3 years. We prepared some plans and finally got the deed. The property was deeded to the Missouri Arkansas District, and I think about 2011 or so. Thought I had to do on the copy that you'll get, you'll have slides that have all these dates on it. But we then, the district applied for a 501c3 through the Internal Revenue Service, and we worked, and the district was awarded that. They formed the foundation, they got the 501c, and then they appointed a board of directors, an organization to manage and to develop the property. This is our current board of directors. There are 12 members. Tom South from Conway, who's one of our regional trustees, is currently the president. And most of the board members are Kiwanis members in Clarksville or Russellville, because those are the guys that are close to the property. And believe me, they put a lot of sweat equity into this project. We have a 12-member board. We meet monthly to take care of the business. And during the last 10 years, that's the camp, that's the sign. Well, the first thing we did, by the way, is put up a sign out by the highway so the judge could drive by there and see it, and know that, well, yes, in fact, there is a camp there. Started out mainly just primitive camping. I got several slides of people working on those, building as tent pads, and I always put this one in because that's the only one I could find with me, and they're actually working. So the first thing that capital improvement, or first really improvement that we did, was to build a large pavilion. I think it's 24 by 30 feet. Before the pavilion was built, most of the camping that was done there was overnight camping with scout groups. But after we built the pavilion, we started having groups from the grade schools in Russellville and Clarksville coming in for day camps. We have a large meditation area right next to that pavilion. These are just some of the things. We got trails with signs, campfire rings. The next thing after the pavilion was the restroom facility. And it cost, believe it or not, it cost about $45,000 to build that. But before that, we had 2 porta potties sitting out there, and one of them was kind of sitting on the side of a hill, and it was kind of interesting.
Is it handicap accessible?
It is, yes, it is, yes, for sure. Whenever you get your copy of the slides, the flagpole will be up in the right position. A few years ago, we paid about $1,500 for this flagpole, and we never did put it up. They were trying to get somebody from Russellville to come out. They wanted a lot of money just to put up the flagpole. And we had the flagpole stored in our storage shed out there. One day I Googled raising a flagpole, and it showed a video of some old men, I think 2 old men and 1 woman, that raised the flagpole. Looked exactly like the flagpole that we had, using a ladder and just pushed it up. And I showed that to the guys on the board. I said, guys, we can do this. We can put this flagpole up ourselves. And I think in the video, it took them 5 minutes. We took a little bit longer, but we did. We got that flagpole up in less than 10 minutes. It's just amazing. But I was so proud of the group because we couldn't get the flagpole put up, because they couldn't get anybody to do it for what we thought was a reasonable cost, and we didn't get it ourselves.
Oh, you don't have your video?
No.
It was really good.
Yeah, it was.
These are the capital improvements that we made after the pavilion was built. The first thing that we wanted to get water up to the pavilion. There's water on the highway, but it's about a quarter of a mile from the highway up to where our facilities are, where we needed water. We completed that. Then the next thing we wanted electricity there was power along the highway. But we had to run it up to the pavilion, and of course, we wanted it underground. We didn't want overhead wires. And then that dual vault restroom that you just completed, and what we're working on right now is a headquarters cabin for the camp. These are the capital improvement costs. That water connection, believe it or not, cost $15,000 for a quarter mile of water line. And I thought the electric would be cheaper, but when we put the quarter mile of power in, working with the fire company, it turned out to be $20,000. That restroom cost $45,000. When this slide was made, we were estimating that the cabin would be $100,000 for a total of $180,000. I had some information on that cabin. Probably have to read it to you, but basically the cabin is a 800-foot rustic looking cabin. It'll serve as a headquarters. It'll serve as a kind of a first aid station and a shelter if we need it there. Your flag folds up right side up on that slide there. Well, left out the camp budget. People always ask what our annual budget is to run the camp down there. And we just get donations from individuals and clubs. But our income for the last few years has been about $15,000 from clubs and individuals. And we're not talking about the money we're collecting for the cabin. Our expenses, the administrative expense runs about $3,500 per year. Most of that is for insurance costs. We have other administrative expenses, and then just operation and maintenance, keeping the place mowed, keeping the weeds under control runs about $6,000. So our total expenses is about $9,500. Say $10,000. We need $10,000 just to keep the gate open down there every year. And that is money that we try to collect from clubs through donations and ask clubs to make a appropriation in their annual budget to help the camp. So keep that in mind as you talk to, yeah, Carla.
And anybody that has been asleep since last October won't know, so I better tell you. The governor's project for this year is Beatrice Johnson. So, we didn't want to make a donation to the governor for their project. Any further comment, Brian?
Yes, and I'm going to continue the same project next year.
I mentioned at our district convention on Friday night, since Carla's project was that, we're gonna have a trivia contest, and Marcia and Shane are gonna head that up with the proceeds to go to the camp. So plan on a fun time at the convention on Friday night, playing trivia.
That sounds great. Yeah. Carla said ago, $25,000. We're approaching half of that right now, aren't we, Carla, with what I say with the money that you brought in and others that we've had donating to the cabin. So we're making good progress, and that's going to be a big help for us. But we want this cabin to be a low maintenance facility. We argued about the size of it. Everybody wants a big meeting hall, but that's not what we're trying to do here. We're just trying to build a place where the board, big enough for the board to meet, and we can have small meetings there. But if we have a couple hundred people, they're not going to get in the cabin. We'll have a kitchen facility, a small kitchen facility. We'll have hot and cold running water and a shower and a restroom in this building. Just kind of a safety thing for the camp, because it is pretty remote there. Right now, I don't think I have this slide up there either. Whoops, it is a diamond in the rough. I've always said when we first started on this, it was very rough. And it was just a diamond in the rough. We keep polishing that diamond. That's what we're trying to do. My vision of this camp is someday have a camp there where we can have our key leader events like that at our own camp, our own Kiwanis camp. Let me kind of update you on what we got available for that cabin. You saw the estimate of $100,000. That has now gone up to about $130,000 because of the construction costs that have risen. We currently have in the bank about $70,000 that has been collected, and 10,000 of that came from Rotary International. Rotary International made a $10,000 donation to our cabin project. Our district Earl Collins Foundation, a couple of years ago, pledged $100,000 for the camp. It'd be $25,000 a year for 4 years. The first $25,000 enabled us to finish the bathroom project that we was working on at the time. So of that 100,000, 75,000 of it's going to go towards the cabin. In addition, the Earl Collins Foundation just recently granted another $24,700 to us to complete the funding of the project, which was badly needed. So, Carla, if you can get your 25,000 this year, we should be up to about 140,000, which we think will be enough for us to start construction on this project. It really is a diamond in the rough, but it gets smoother all the time. And if you haven't had an opportunity to go see the camp, let me or one of the other board members know, because we would like for every Kiwanian in our district, particularly in the leadership positions, to see this camp. It is an amazing thing and what's been done down there. Right now, the pandemic really hurt us. We were starting to build up the camps. And right now, we're trying to get back to having some day camps. We still have scout groups coming out there for overnight camping. We even had a Girl Scout troop out there a month or so ago, camped overnight at the camp. So it's a great thing for us. And that camp belongs to the Missouri Arkansas District. It doesn't belong to the Russellville Kiwanis Club. It's our camp for all of us. Oh, yes. Well, I was going to mention that later when I talked about the Kiwanis Children's Fund. But yes, we did just recently receive a grant of over $5,000 for the camp from our Kiwanis International Children's Fund Foundation to be used to purchase exercise sporting equipment for use in the activities at the camp. So I hope all of you got one of these folders, tells the history. I've got, how many more you need, Barb? But take this with you, and whenever you go around to your clubs, talk to them about the camp, because this is something that really has a great future for us at Kiwanis and doing something for kids all throughout the district, not just in Arkansas. Any other questions about the camp?
Glamping starts, I'll come.
I just wanted to mention one more thing about Earl Collins and the relationship between the two. So the Earl Collins Foundation did, we had a little bit of discussion, but we did vote to give the $100,000. And as a result, the headquarters cabin is going to be named in honor of the Earl Collins Foundation. So it's a nice collaboration between.
Yes, there was some dissension in our group on that. Why are we giving up the naming of it? And you know what I said, hey, they're not going to name it for somebody that's not a good Kiwanian. I mean, we're all Kiwanians. This is not us versus them. It's all us. So, but yes, yeah, we were glad to give that up for the $100,000 because that really helped us move forward on this cabin project.
We're really glad to do it. And there was discussion in our group too, but we
Yeah.
worked through that.
I
So-
appreciate, I know it was some headache for you from what I hear anyway. We do have a master plan for additional improvements and additional facilities at the camp. We're going to build some overnight cabins at some point. We're looking at maybe an indoor kitchen and an indoor bathhouse facility. And those are on down the road somewhere. But right now, we're focused on trying to get this cabin built. We do have a website that you can go to, and that website has just recently been revamped. And I understand it's a lot easier to navigate now, and it has a lot more information on it. So if you have any questions, you can go to the website and probably get your questions answered. Oh, any other comments or questions about the?
Oh, when kids are there and there aren't showers, you want to mention the proximity to the water across the road?
There is, the Corps of Engineers recreation facility across the road has hot showers. They've given us verbal permission. We don't have anything in writing about that for the kids. It's a short walk, and we're looking at trying to develop a trail that'll make it even shorter for them, where they cut across the power line easement to get over there. But and there's also a nice swim beach there at that park and where the kids can go and swim. And we've actually had some of our groups go there in the summertime. But yes, they've got very nice facilities there. Someday we'll be able to match them, I think, Carly. Next thing on my list is the Beaumont District Outreach Fund. Everybody know what we're talking about here with the outreach fund? Purpose is to support key clubs, Circle K clubs, key leader camps, and Camp Kiwanis activities in the Missouri, Arkansas district. By support, we mean raising money to support these activities for our district. And I know you can't read this, and we'll get a little bit more into that here in a few minutes, but this sheet tells about the voluntary contributions that we ask from each club and the amounts and where those should be sent. Our outreach fund was established to subsidize our SLP programs, and each club was asked to contribute $4 per member to the fund. I think originally it was $2 per member, and according to this slide, it says in 2017, the board approved an increase to $4 per member. So I think it was originally $2 per member. As I recall.
I think we went up to 5.
Oh, we did?
Yeah.
Mary Vaughn's gonna give us the current, most current sheet tomorrow.
So was that just recently that y'all just did it?
No, it was a year or two ago.
I think we're overpaying because I know we're paying 5. Yeah.
Keep paying 5. It'll be 6 next.
The total's now $20, or it was, let's see.
I haven't seen the numbers personally, so.
Well, I was not able to update the contributions, but you can see starting with 2014, it's been trending down and the amount that we've collected, and I'm sure it's continued to trend down because of the pandemic and because of the loss of clubs and loss of members. So we really need to get behind this because it's an important part of our SLP support in our district. And I don't know who wrote this, but it said the right thing. We did do a better job of educating our clubs about the importance of the outreach fund. This money goes to our Missouri, Arkansas district service leadership program for their benefit. Aha. I was hoping that slide didn't show up, but it did. Have all of you heard of the MA fund? Let me see what I'm missing here that should have told you about. Oh, we're right on schedule. The voluntary MA fund is used to help with expenses when a Missouri, Arkansas as a candidate for an elected officer of Quasi International. And past Governor Ron Hill from the Conway Club is currently a candidate for international trustee. And the contribution should be mailed directly to the district secretary. Barb, do you want to comment any more on that? I know you've been through this, and so has Les. And it costs a lot of money, believe it or not, for one of our members to run for an international office. It's a big honor for our district to have someone on the international board or an officer at the international level. And, we've got those people that are willing to stick out their neck and go out there and go after that. We need to support them with financial support. And I know, Les, you've been partnered with the past governors on that. So, but
Mary, our
He's not in here. Mary's not in here.
Just a few days ago, it was at 0. So,
It is still at 0.
okay. And so
I sent a check in, it should have.
Well,
maybe
as of 4:30, it was 0. That's all I've seen.
she's probably not been home.
Okay.
Yeah, and I brought one to give to.
and I had a check, and I forgot about the rate. I will mail it in though. But
Well, she went to the bank this afternoon, but she hasn't been able to check the mailbox since
Yeah, she's been
Saturday
here.
or Friday, because she's been here, so.
But there are, like, Ron has a brochure, it costs money to get that laid out and to get printed. And if he has T-shirts, and if you're going to the convention, we all need to, if he has a T-shirt, wear it at the House of Delegates or any place else that you're going to wear it. And, we need to support him. And it is really good for the district. I mean, it's good for the district
It
in
is.
terms of that we're known, and that brings things to us. like grants and so on. and so on.
Barb was on the board that really helped our district. Even just our morale in the district was helped by the fact that we had a representative on the international board.
I might mention that those T-shirts can come in very handy. When Barb ran for vice president in Paris, I went over there to help support her nomination and election. And our luggage went to Greece and to, and so when I went over to pick up our T-shirts, that's all we had.
I thought, like that.
I think Barb
Roy's
planned it
doing a
that way.
great job of supporting me. I didn't know I didn't have any other clothes.
But seriously, if you did not fill out your delegate forms, or you know anyone who has not filled out their delegate forms, that date passed, they are still accepting delegate forms. Get it turned into KI. They will take them, and you can be a delegate still.
Ronde's every vote, Ronde's every vote he could get, yes.
No.
No, have to be there in person.
But Ron is a very personable guy. For those of us that know him, very down to earth sort of guy. Really, I think he will, at first I thought, man, why is Ron running for this? But as I thought about it,
Well, he's not bashful.
he's not bashful, you're right. Yeah,
And I
but
think his candor is refreshing.
absolutely, that's exactly what I thought.
There's not a lot of that around him.
Yeah, right. He's not your typical stuffed shirt trustee.
So be interesting.
Okay, there's several slides missing right here in this next stretch. And the next topic was supposed to be our Kiwanis International Children's Fund. Is everybody aware of the Kiwanis International Foundation Children's Fund? That's our international foundation, and they use money to support children not only in the United States, but worldwide. Plus, they give grants back to districts, clubs, and like we mentioned earlier, the Missouri Arkansas District just recently got a grant of over $5,000 from the Children's Fund to purchase the recreation equipment for the camp. So we've had other grants, I know in the past.
Did you apply for that or did they just?
We did apply for it, yes, yes. I forget. I think,
Tom filled it out and provided it to Roger.
the Roger, that's Roger, yes, yeah.
So, and that's just another example of why it's good to have somebody on the board, because then your
Absolutely,
name is out there and they go, oh yeah, Moark, they'll do something good with that.
yes.
Whereas if we're unknown, then they say, well, we don't know anything.
And the Children's Fund grant was not able to be used for building. It had to
Construction,
be
yes.
used.
Yep, you're right, yeah. We've tried that before, Carla, several times to get money for construction. But, you got to remember, we're part of an international organization, Yes, our primary focus is on our local communities and our local kids, but there are problems worldwide where there's places where they don't have Kiwanis clubs to do the things that we do for our community. So we need to support, if we're going to be a part of the international organization, we need to support that organization. And one way they ask us to support is by making a contribution of $10 per member every year to the Kiwanis International Children's Fund. I know our club does it in Springdale. We just put it in our budget every year, and it's just automatic with us. And hopefully more clubs will adopt that because it is very important. They've struggled, I know, in recent years because of the pandemic and other reasons. They've struggled and have enough money to anywhere meet the needs that they know exist. Barbara, you may want to say something about the International Foundation.
Just that, another issue that is the Charity Navigator rating, which was really good during Eliminate because we had money coming in. And now all the expenses now the money that's going in is not enough to meet the expenses. And so our ratio of how much is going to programming as opposed to expenses is getting, the expenses are getting larger because we're paying those expenses.
Mhm.
So donations are still needed, just like Earl Collins, even though there's money there, there's ratios that we have to keep within, to keep positive charity navigator ratings are for Earl Collins in order that we do not become a private foundation subject to taxation.
Right, for
Yeah,
sure, yeah.
And right now, our club contributions is way down, and we've given out more money than we've received. And I might mention at the convention, we'll have the Earl Collins silent auction. So normally we raise $3,000 to $5,000 at that. So bring all the articles you can, no white elephant articles.
Don't get confused between our Earl Collins Foundation and the Kiwanis International Children's Fund
Right.
Foundation.
Got to do both.
A lot of people think they're one and the same, but they're not. And we need to support both of them. And
Jerry, outreach is not a foundation, it's just a fund, is that correct?
That's correct, yes, yes.
Okay.
And it's just periodic, whenever we have a candidate running, that's
And
whenever
that's the
we.
MA.
That's
She was
MA
talking
fund.
about
Oh, the
outreach.
outreach, yeah,
Outreach.
yeah. No, that is not a foundation, no, that's
Just
I've often wondered why it doesn't come under the Earl Collins Foundation, but no, it's something that the district started to support our service leadership programs. The next slide should have been showing the recommended club found contributions. See, it's not, but we talked about the Earl Collins Foundation, recommended $5 per member. The more outreach, $4 per member, which now is going to be $5. And the Children's Fund, $10 per member. And that was $19 per member. So it's going to go up to about $20 per member. So, you know, our club, we budget that, and you just need to figure that in your dues for your members as part of the dues. Our club does too. We donate that 100%. Yes.
We do too. Somebody might have told our club that it was required.
Yeah. Well, it should be required, you know, but we understand not every club has the finances of the Springdale Kiwanis Club. You know, we've got a strong club and we've got strong finances. And I know a lot of clubs struggle. Whenever we were trying to build the new club in Springdale a few years back, when we looked at putting the $20 a year into their due structure plus everything else, some of them questioned that, you know, why are we paying that money out of our city, so to speak? So,
But you can use service funds.
yes, you
Yeah,
can.
don't have to use-
Right, but still, it's
Still,
budget.
it's right, I get it, yeah.
Okay, the next thing should have been the past lieutenant governor's council. Tom Wiles, who's the chairman of the council, asked me to be sure to include that in the presentation. And it's comprised of the past lieutenant governors of the district. And they traditionally in the past have met for breakfast at the district convention. During the pandemic, that's changed up a little bit, but we've always had a breakfast meeting for past lieutenant governors. And Tom told me to tell y'all that y'all were invited to come to the past lieutenant governor's breakfast if we have one this year. Even though you're still lieutenant governors, you're still invited to come to the past lieutenant governor's conference. I mean, breakfast. You will be invited to join. And when the time comes, it costs $10 to join you have to be a past lieutenant governor, obviously. You have to pay $10 to join. Then the annual dues are $5 per year after that, or you can buy a lifetime membership after you pay the $10, pay $50 more, and then you don't pay the $5. I think that's the way it works.
But it can be a current lieutenant governor also.
Yeah. Well, the title of the organization is past.
I know.
As long as you got $10, you can be.
Even if you're a current lieutenant governor, part of your term is passed.
But actually, when I finished my first term as lieutenant governor and gave my money, I never got my whatever pin or badge. Never got my badge. And they said, oh, well, you'll get it when you finish your second term. So I
Did you ever
paid
get
after the first term, but I had to wait till after I was really done. to get it.
Well, the organization, we lost a little bit of our continuity on the organization in the last few years and talked with Tom about it. He said that they've got a committee now working on trying to strengthen the past Lieutenant Governor's Council, get some definite plans in for meetings and activities. Just reading the things that they're doing, they're supposed to be assisting in building new clubs and strengthening clubs. Those past Lieutenant Governors have a lot of knowledge and experience, help in educating clubs and members, promote service leadership programs, which we all do, initiate subjects for consideration by the district board, and consider and report to the district board its conclusions on all matters referred to that council by the district board. So it really can be a big help for the district, not only for the board, but for the whole district. I hope that we can really reactivate that, our past Lieutenant Governors, because we really had a good active group there for a while. Les mentioned that the Earl Collins Foundation had silent auction at the district convention. Past Lieutenant Governor's done the silent auction at our midwinter conference in the past, and raised $2,000 or $3,000 every year, and that money went right to our service leadership programs at the district level.
Charlie's now the treasurer, and he's trying to find anybody that didn't get the badge.
That's all right. I just said that as a joke. I need another badge.
Yeah, you don't need that.
Yeah.
Well, we've had a problem in the last few years where we've opened up the past Lieutenant Governor's breakfast to everybody. It's just like the breakfast at the convention. And we really need a separate time just designated for past Lieutenant Governors. If we're going to make that an organization, it feels like they're really a coherent organization. I think that's what Tom, Charlie, and the people are working on, what Tom's
And
telling
even the breakfast is open to any Kiwanis. You don't have to be a lieutenant governor or past to come to the breakfast. It's open to everybody because, that we talk about what's going on in the district. And for people that are just getting acquainted, they might learn something. So, yeah, anybody's invited to come.
Yeah, and they always sell raffle tickets too, so that everybody gets to raise a lot of money. Okay, the next thing that I want to talk about is our Kiwanis leadership programs, and this is really an international thing more than just our district, but it's a big part of the Missouri Arkansas district and the service that we provide in our communities is through these service leadership programs. Everybody knows what a service leadership program is. When somebody tells you about SLP, you know what they're talking about, like I did the first time somebody said it to me. If you would take one of these charts, just pass it down. Well, those aren't. These aren't as pretty. They don't look like, I probably printed these at home on my printer. There are some better ones on this side. I found this chart on the website, on the international website, and I had a slide of it, but you really couldn't read it on the slide anyway. That's why I made these copies. But this has all of our service leadership programs listed there at the top. K-Kids, Terrific Kids, Ring Upgrades, Builders Club, Key Leader, Circle K, and Action Club. And then it's kind of a guideline on what the club is, how many members you have to have, and so forth to really get a club going. We in Springdale have used just about all of these. We currently have K-Kids. We currently have Terrific Kids. I'm not sure about bringing up grades. We did have that at one time. I'm not sure whether we've done that. We've had 2 builders clubs, but those kind of dropped off the last few years. We have not, we do have 2 Key clubs in our 2 high schools in Springdale. Circle K International, there used to be a club at the University of Arkansas, but there's not anymore. The Action Club is my favorite. I'm serving as Carla's Action Club chair for this district. Thank you. I haven't done much, but Carla couldn't find anybody to do that. And I said, Carla, I will do it. But what I'm going to try to do is get somebody to replace me at the end of this year. And when we found that person, Britton Rhodes from the East Summit, a younger person who's in charge of the of the Action Club there in Lee Summit, a ball of fire, and she really likes Action Club. And I think if we'll get behind her at the district level and support her, I think we'll see some amazing results from her. We have I think we have 10 Action Clubs right now in the district, and only 5 of those have paid their dues and are considered active by Kiwanis International. We've got 3 more that are in the process, I hope, of getting their roster updated, their dues paid before October the 1st, because if they don't, then they're help me, Brad, are they suspended or inactive? I think they go inactive then, if I remember. Well, I'm talking about Action Clubs. I think, yeah, they go inactive. And it,
They go through the same steps, suspended and then inactive.
okay, yeah. So we've got 3 of them right now that I think are suspended, or 4 that are suspended. I know one of them has already processed their payment, and but if they go inactive October the 1st, it's really it's like starting a new club all over at that point. So I'm trying to work with those clubs, see if we can get them at least get their dues paid and the roster updated before October the 1st, so that we can carry forward with active clubs next year. But if you haven't been involved with an Action Club, you know, I was amazed whenever I was district governor, we had some Action Club members come to our district convention. And I sat there and talked to some of those people, and I was just simply amazed. They want to be a part of our organization. They don't want us to treat them like kids or different. They want to be treated like everybody else. And my passion was to start an Action Club in Springdale, Arkansas. Dolores Stamps, a good friend of mine in our club, she had the same passion, and she had the know-how to do it. And we did start the Action Club in Springdale. It's been over 10 years ago. It's just amazing to work with those people. We have about 40 members in that club. We can't handle any more. We could have 100 if we had room for them. But just what I have seen, the change in some of those Action Club members just from being a part of that Action Club, and the change in some of our Kiwanis members also after working with the Action Club members. And I'll tell you a story about something that happened to me at Action Club. We were collecting money probably for a lemonade or something, and there was one guy, his name was, I think, Roy. Roy. Who said Roy? I had an echo, not this Roy. No. But anyway, they passed the thing around, and he put $100 bill in there. And I went over
Yeah,
to
it
him.
wasn't me.
Roy couldn't really speak. He couldn't talk. But I went over and asked him, you know, are you sure? He said, finally, he said, yeah, it's for the kids. I want to give this for the kids. And so we took it, and then I went to the lady there at the facility and said, you better call his mother to find out. Well, she got her on the phone, and she said, she wants to talk to you. So I went over there, and she said, we don't give our money. She wants to know where the money's going. We don't give our money going out anywhere besides right here in Springdale. And she went on and on about, you know, I told her it was a Kiwanis organization. And I said, ma'am, there's 5 members of the Springdale Kiwanis Club in there right now working with that Action Club, helping them, doing things with them. And in the end, she says, keep the money. But really, it's affected me personally to get to know some of those Action Club members.
I mentioned our Action Club for several years. They had a spaghetti and meatball, and our club would go there when they were having that activity. And they did all the cooking, kitchen, the whole thing. And we paid, I think, $5 a piece or something like that. And, you know, they raised a lot of money.
We've had a couple of car washes, and I remember one, we had a guy that liked to wash the tires. I mean, he washed the tires. We had some clean tires in Springdale there, but right after we formed our Action Club, they had a spaghetti supper, and I took my wife Betty there. And she said afterwards, said, Jerry, I just feel uneasy about it. I don't feel comfortable around those people. And some people are like that. We have members of our club that have told me the same thing, but to me, it's just, those people are just amazing to me. They are a little bit different for sure, but they want to be a part of the community and a part of society. And they're so loving and they're so giving. They're so giving that they'll give their last penny to what they think is a needed cause. That's enough. That's my,
So enthusiastic and so appreciative.
yes.
The biggest issue I find with the Action Club is getting transportation, getting members to pick them up and take them back and all that. There's a lot of back and forth on that end. I was also gonna just throw in for Governor-elect Roy that his president, our president-elect Bert West has made it known that he really is in favor of adding more K-Kids clubs next year. So that might be something that the district wants to think about, how you can support more of those. I know Nancy Wilman did buddy benches. She wanted to have a buddy bench on every playground that had of a school that had a K-Kids there for a while. And so
Well, I've worked
it's the
with
first time I've
K-Kids.
heard of a president
Yes.
really focusing on one SLP.
K-Kids is probably the easiest one of these service leadership programs to get started. All you need is a teacher in that school. And I found that teachers in elementary schools are a lot more enthusiastic than teachers in high school and college. There's one in every school that's willing to sponsor this club and to teach kids citizenship, teach them leadership, and teach them community service. That's just amazing to me.
And if you do have a K-Kids, make sure that you get as many members as possible to go to the officer installation. There is nothing more stinking cute than little kids getting installed as a president or vice president or secretary in front of their parents and the teachers and the faculty and the administrators. So
When I first worked with one of the K-Kids club, we were talking about officers. Who wants to be president? Well, every kid held up their hand. They want to be president. And then the next week I was on the nominating committee for our Kiwanis Club. We're trying to find out who in the club wants to be president. Nobody. in the Kiwanis Club wants to be president.
that says a lot. doesn't it?
All of these programs, the procedures and everything's already laid out by Kiwanis International. There's a menu there that you follow. We need to really use this in our community service. Any other comments, or I went on way too long about the Action Club?
Easy to do.
What else we got? Maybe that's it. There is on the slides that you get, I thought they'd probably be on here, there's a lot of slides about key leader. Yeah. Does everybody know what the key leader program is? Developing leadership in high school kids. The year that I was governor, Roy, I did go to one of the key leader camps that went down to Hot Springs, and I was really amazed at the program and the professionalism of the people presenting that. And I've heard stories about what a life-changing experience it's been for even kids in our district. It's a extended weekend leadership experience for high school students, offers emerging leaders a taste of what service leadership is all about. And here, in 2004, recognized key leader as a concept for international youth leadership, approved the creation and development of key leader program in 2004 to inspire young people to achieve their personal best through service leadership. These are the 5 principles of service leadership. Theirs was a sample agenda for a weekend, starting on Friday and going through Sunday. And just what a key leader is. And you'll have all this in the handout that I'll give you in the morning. Be on these slides. What do? We learn how to become the best friend, the best leader, the best member of their community. Right here, more information, the registration process. We have 2 key leader camps scheduled in our district this fall. The first one is October 21st through 23rd, Camp Haska, Bourbon, Missouri. Where's Bourbon, Missouri at? Almost to St. Louis.
Yes.
And then again in November the 4th through 6th at Camp Tananaco in Hot Springs, Arkansas. And it's $195 per camper at the Missouri and just $150 at Arkansas. I don't know what's the difference there, whether we've got some.
Cost of living's higher up here.
Yeah, okay. But really, this is something that we really haven't supported like we should be doing in the Missouri, Arkansas district. And the problem that we always have is, there's a football game or something on that very same weekend in the fall with these high school kids that prevents them from going. But believe me, there are other kids out there that probably need this, that aren't the kind that are involved in the activities at the football game. Those are the ones that we really need to try to seek out through the schools and see if we can get them to participate in Key Leader. Our club budgets money every year to send two. I think in the last 3 or 4 years, I can only think of one that we've actually sent. Money's there to pay for it. Really, I say this is something that we really need to support because the rewards there are tremendous.
They actually have reduced the prices of those camps a little bit to try to interest kids more. The one thing that they are gonna do is to institute that the student has to pay, and I don't know that there's $20, $40 themselves, which they will give back to them when they show up. Because they were just having too many kids that said, yeah, I want to go, but then
Yeah, no shows.
they got a fun something to do that weekend and they just skipped it.
Say
So,
we've had the money there, but no kids to take it.
yeah, we have scholarships that go on claim to go to camp.
That was my first experience with Kiwanis, was Key Leader.
Yes, what did you think about it? Then?
I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's really amazing. And what I read and what I hear from other people, it's a life-changing thing for a lot of these kids that are struggling, really struggling. And those are the kids that aren't going to be going to the football game or whatever it is that's happening on that particular weekend. Oh, there's Blake. He's asleep. Let's see what else I had.
Blake, do you have any questions?
Wake up, Blake.
It's a good thing you didn't fall asleep because.
Oh, no, I'm right there with Jerry.
I know there's more slides here. We're just about, well, I guess,
Well, where'd they go?
well, you know what I want to say in closing?
Yeah.
Don't forget, kids need Kiwanis.
Really?
That was the last slide. Now, we've got a lot of expertise in here. You lieutenant governors, do you have any questions about our district, the things that we talked about, or anything bothering you that don't your mind? Speak now or talk to Roy later. Well, again, Roy, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to be a part of this. I wish all of you well in your year as lieutenant governor, and I hope that you enjoy your year as much as I did my year as lieutenant governor.
Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate it. Okay, we will start bright and early at 8:30 in the morning. If you're staying in a hotel, you have breakfast here, so bring your breakfast in if necessary. If you decide you want to have a waffle, better figure an extra 30 minutes to get that ready, I think. Because it's complicated and you may have to have some help.
We ought to make that part of the training.
Don't pour the batter in until the waffle iron is pre-closed.
I had a
And it
sign on
sits
that.
like here, it sits up and down, which is weird. I've never seen it.
Our first
Across the room.
Our first session tomorrow is Brad Boyd, and so you don't want to miss that at 8:30. And Carla, did you have something else?
I wanted to ask, are you planning a break at 10:30 or something so we can actually throw our stuff in our car?
Yes, we got a break in the schedule.
Cool, thank you.
Leave your name temps out tonight. I'll leave them with you so that we have for tomorrow.
Yeah,
We can move around tomorrow, but leave the name temps on the
the
table.
seats are not assigned, but the nameplates have to go with you.
Yeah,
I just don't want people to take them back and then they don't come back and then we won't know who anybody
Well,
is.
and they're so
tomorrow.
fancy, you can't afford to be without.
I went to a lot of work on those. I had to get up.
All right, we are adjourned.
Blake, it was nice seeing you. You have a nice evening. We'll see you tomorrow.
That's your stuff.
Thank you very much. 8:30.
There's plenty of these Earl Collins brochures. Be sure to take 20 for
Like four for $1 at Dollar
Blake, were you able? Oh, he's gone. I was gonna ask him a question. He left.
Sometimes.
All right.